I found out my wife cheated with my daughter's boyfriend, abused my daughter into staying quiet for months, and locked her out of my house while I was offshore working. So I destroyed her life in one night. Alright Reddit, this happened 3 months ago and I'm still processing the whole thing. My lawyer said it's fine to post now since the divorce is finalized and the criminal charges are filed. So here we go. I'm 44 years old, been working offshore oil platforms in the Gulf of Mexico for the past 20 years. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off rotation. The money's incredible, but the work is brutal, and you miss a lot of what happens at home. That's how this whole mess went undetected for as long as it did. My wife Diane and I got married young, had our daughter Lily when I was 23. Diane never worked after Lily was born. Just stayed home and managed the house while I was out making 6 figures on the rigs. We had a nice place in Florida, 3-bedroom house with a pool, 2 cars paid off, and enough in savings that we could have retired early if things had gone different. Lily just turned 19 last summer. Smart kid, full ride scholarship to State University about 40 minutes from our house. Studying engineering because apparently she inherited my ability to fix things and do math. I was proud as hell. Started dating this guy named Brandon when she was a freshman. Seemed like a decent enough dude at first. 21 years old, business major, drove a Mustang his parents bought him. Brandon came from money. His dad owned a chain of car dealerships across 3 counties, and Brandon never had to work a real day in his life. The kind of guy who wore designer clothes to class and talked about his investment portfolio at 19. Lily seemed happy though, so I kept my mouth shut about my reservations. The red flags started showing up around February of last year, but I was too busy with work to notice the pattern. I'd come home from my 2-week rotation, and Lily would be quiet, withdrawn. Diane would explain it away as stress from midterms, or roommate drama or whatever. Made sense at the time, so I didn't push it. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I missed. Lily started losing weight. She'd always been active and healthy, played volleyball in high school and kept herself in shape, but suddenly she was skin and bones, wearing baggy hoodies even in Florida summer heat to hide how much weight she'd dropped. Dark circles under her eyes like she wasn't sleeping. Whenever I asked her about school or Brandon, she'd give one-word answers and change the subject. The girl who used to light up telling me about her classes and projects was now giving me flat, fine responses to everything. When I'd ask about Brandon, she'd flinch slightly before forcing a smile and saying things were good. Should have been my first major clue that something was seriously wrong. I remember one weekend in March, I took her out for breakfast at this diner we used to hit every Sunday when she was in high school. She ordered pancakes, her favorite, then barely touched them. Just pushed them around her plate while checking her phone every 30 seconds, like she was waiting for important instructions or permission to exist. You okay, sweetheart? You've barely eaten. Just not that hungry, Dad. School stuff on my mind. Want to talk about it? No, it's fine. Really? That's when I should have known. Lily and I always talked about everything. She'd tell me about her professors, her friends, her worries about the future. We'd had conversations about everything from calculus to boys, to whether humans would ever colonize Mars. For her to suddenly shut down like that should have set off every alarm bell in my head. But Diane was right there, jumping in with explanations. She's just adjusting to college workload, honey. Remember how stressed you were in engineering school? It's normal. I wanted to believe it was normal. Wanted to believe my kid was just going through standard college growing pains and would come out the other side stronger. Didn't want to admit that something might be seriously wrong in my own house while I was offshore making money to support us all. Diane kept making excuses. She's just adjusting to college life. All freshmen go through this. You're overreacting because you're gone so much. That last one stung because it was partially true. I was gone half the month every month. Hard to be a present parent when you're on an oil rig 200 miles offshore. But I tried. Called Lily every other day, texted her constantly, sent her care packages with her favorite snacks and little notes telling her I was proud of her. Made sure she knew I was there for her even when I was physically absent. Except those text messages weren't always getting through. The care packages would arrive, but Lily would claim she never got them. That maybe they were stolen off her dorm room doorstep. The phone calls became shorter and more awkward. I chalked it up to her being busy, having a full schedule, needing space to become her own person. What I didn't know was that my wife was actively sabotaging that relationship, telling Lily I was too busy to care about her problems, deleting my messages before Lily could see them, intercepting packages and throwing them away before Lily got home from class, convincing my daughter that I'd be disappointed in her if she told me what was really happening, that I'd blame her for letting things get this bad, that I'd think less of her for not being strong enough to handle the situation on her own. The psychological warfare was methodical and calculated. Diane knew exactly what buttons to push with a 19-year-old girl who wanted desperately to make her father proud. Knew that Lily would rather suffer in silence than risk disappointing me. Used that knowledge to create a wall between us, while pretending to be the supportive mother holding everything together. I found out later that Diane had been checking Lily's phone regularly, monitoring her messages and social media. Anytime Lily tried to reach out to friends about what was happening, Diane would confront her about it. Your friends don't need to know our private family business. You're just causing drama and making yourself look crazy. She isolated my daughter systematically, convinced her that nobody would believe her story anyway, that Brandon would just deny everything and make Lily look like a jealous ex trying to ruin his reputation, that I would take Diane's side because I'd been married to her for 20 years and only known Brandon through Lily's stories. The breaking point. How I found out. Mid-August, I'm wrapping up my rotation on the platform. We just finished a major maintenance project, and I was looking forward to 2 weeks at home. Maybe take Lily fishing like we used to when she was little. Grill some steaks. Just be a dad for a while. My phone rings around 10 p.m., which is weird because nobody calls that late unless it's an emergency. It's my neighbor Janet, this retired teacher who lives 3 houses down and has known Lily since she was in diapers. David, I'm so sorry to bother you, but I think you need to know something. My stomach drops. What's wrong? Is Lily okay? She's at my house right now. She showed up an hour ago crying and she won't tell me what happened, but she's got a bruise on her face and she's terrified to go home. I'm already packing my bag. Put her on the phone. When Lily gets on the line, she's sobbing so hard I can barely understand her. Just keep saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Dad, over and over like she's committed some unforgivable crime instead of being the victim of sustained abuse. Baby girl, I need you to breathe and tell me what happened. Are you hurt? Do you need an ambulance? No, no ambulance. I can't go home. Mom locked me out and she said, if I tell you anything, she'll make sure I lose my scholarship. My blood turns to ice. Mom did what? That's when the whole story comes out. Turns out Brandon had been coming to our house during my rotations. Started as just hanging out with Diane, being friendly with his girlfriend's mom. Diane would invite him over for dinner, tell Lily it was nice to have young energy in the house. Then it became him staying for dinner regularly. Then staying to watch movies. Then staying overnight in the guest room, or so Lily thought. Then staying in my bed. In the bed I shared with my wife. In my house that I paid for with money earned risking my life on offshore platforms. My wife had been sleeping with our daughter's boyfriend for 6 months. 6 months. And she'd been threatening Lily into silence the entire time with a combination of manipulation, gaslighting, and outright threats. The timeline Lily laid out made my stomach turn. It started in February, right around when I noticed Lily acting different. Brandon would show up at the house during the day when Lily was in class. Diane would make him elaborate meals, buy him expensive gifts on my credit card, treat him like some kind of prize she'd won, instead of acknowledging he was dating her daughter. By March, they were sleeping together. Lily came home early from a study session one afternoon and walked in on them making out in the kitchen. My kitchen, where Diane and I had cooked breakfast together on my days off, where Lily had eaten cereal before school every morning growing up, defiled by my wife and a kid barely out of his teens. Lily confronted them immediately, horrified and disgusted. Brandon's response was to threaten her. Said if she told anyone, he'd make sure everyone knew it was Lily who pushed them together. That she'd practically offered her mom to him as some weird test of his loyalty. Diane backed him up completely, told Lily she was being dramatic and jealous and needed to grow up. That's when the real psychological torture began. The manipulation was methodical and vicious. Diane told Lily that if she said anything, she'd tell the university that Lily was cheating on her exams. She'd ruin Brandon's life and make sure he blamed Lily for it. She'd divorce me and take everything, leaving Lily with nothing for school. She even threatened to tell me that Lily was on substances and needed to be institutionalized. Lily believed all of it because she was 19 and terrified, and her own mother was gaslighting her into thinking this was somehow normal or her fault. Today, the breaking point came because Lily finally told Brandon she wanted to break up. She couldn't handle watching her mom sleep with her boyfriend anymore. Couldn't handle the lies and the guilt and the absolute mind games. Brandon freaked out, worried Lily would expose everything, and told Diane. My wife's response? Slapped Lily across the face, told her she was an ungrateful brat who should be thanking her for teaching her boyfriend how to be a real man, then physically threw her out of the house and locked the doors. Took Lily's house key, changed the locks, and told her not to come back until she learned to keep her mouth shut. I'm listening to all this while standing on an oil platform in the middle of the Gulf, feeling like someone just ripped my heart out through my throat. My hands are shaking so bad I can barely hold the phone. Lily, listen to me very carefully. You did nothing wrong. Do you understand me? Nothing. You're the victim here, and I'm going to fix this. But Dad, she said... I don't care what she said. She's a liar and an abuser, and I'm going to handle this. You stay with Janet tonight. I'll be home in 12 hours. Called my supervisor, explained there was a family emergency, and got myself on the next helicopter off the platform. Usually takes 2 days to arrange transport, but when you've been a reliable employee for 20 years and you sound like you're about to commit murder, they make it happen fast. During the helicopter ride to shore and the 3-hour drive home, I made a series of very calculated phone calls. I wasn't about to go in hot and stupid. I was going to dismantle my wife's entire life with the same precision I used to manage million-dollar platform operations. See, working offshore teaches you to stay calm in crisis situations. When something goes wrong on a rig, you don't panic and start screaming. You assess the situation, make a plan, execute it step by step. Same principle applied here. My wife had created a crisis. I was going to solve it permanently. The systematic destruction. One night to end. It all first call. My divorce lawyer, Jerry. We'd worked together on a buddy's divorce a few years back and he was a shark in the courtroom. The kind of attorney who smiled when opposing counsel showed up unprepared and absolutely destroyed them with facts and procedure. I laid out the situation and he was already drafting papers before I finished talking. David, what she did to Lily isn't just grounds for divorce, it's potentially criminal. Coercion, abuse of a minor even though Lily's technically an adult, emotional manipulation, assault and battery from that slap. We're talking restraining orders, potential jail time, civil suits. She opened herself up to a world of legal pain. Make it happen. I want her out of my house and out of our lives by tomorrow morning. I don't care what it costs. I'll have emergency custody orders and a restraining order filed within the hour. Given the abuse allegations and the fact that she physically assaulted and locked out your daughter, we can get an emergency hearing. Judge Martinez is on call tonight, and she doesn't mess around with domestic violence cases. We'll have orders in place by morning. Jerry was a machine. I could hear him typing while we talked, already drafting motions and affidavits. I'll need Lily's statement as soon as possible. Photos of the bruise, timeline of events. And David, document everything. Every text message, every call, every interaction from here on out. This is going to get ugly, and I want ammunition. Second call, my bank. Moved every cent from our joint accounts into a new account in just my name. Froze all the credit cards. Cut off access to everything. My money, my accounts, my problem to protect. The bank manager, this guy named Harold who I'd known for 15 years through various accounts and loans, didn't even question it when I explained the situation. Just said, consider it done, and started processing paperwork immediately. 20 minutes later, I had confirmation that roughly $180,000 in savings was now in a new account with only my name on it. All joint credit cards were frozen. The card Diane had been using to wine and dine her boy toy was now useless plastic. Harold, I need you to pull transaction records for the joint credit card for the last 6 months. Restaurants, hotels, retail purchases, everything. Send it to my lawyer's email. Already compiling it. Should have it to him within the hour. And David, I'm sorry you're going through this. Your wife seemed like a nice lady, but clearly I was wrong. You and me both, Harold. Third call. My brother-in-law, Diane's brother Michael. He'd never liked her much anyway. Always said she married me for money and stability instead of love. Told him everything. Every sordid detail about the affair, the manipulation, the abuse. His response? I always knew she was trash, but this is next level. What do you need from me? I need you to call your sister and tell her that her family knows what she did, and they're disgusted. I want her to understand she's losing everyone, not just me. I want her to know there's no running home to mommy and daddy for sympathy. Michael made that call while I was still driving. Put me on hold so I could hear parts of it. His voice was cold and disgusted in a way I'd never heard before. Diane, I just got off the phone with David. He told me what you did to Lily, with her boyfriend. And I'm calling to tell you that you're dead to this family. Don't call mom and dad. Don't call me. Don't expect support or sympathy or a place to stay. You're on your own. She tried to lie about it. Claimed Lily was being dramatic and making things up for attention. Michael shut that down immediately. I've known Lily since she was born. That kid doesn't have a manipulative bone in her body. She's honest to a fault. But you've always been a selfish piece of work who only cared about yourself. I told David he was too good for you when you got married, and turns out I was right. Don't call me again. He hung up on her mid-sentence. Came back on the line with me. She's crying and making excuses, but I'm not interested. Mom and dad are going to lose it when I tell them. Want me to handle that too? Please. I've got enough to deal with. Fourth call. Brandon's parents. That was the one I was really looking forward to. Mr. Harrison, the car dealership king, answered on the second ring with that smooth sales voice he probably used on customers. Mr. Harrison, this is David Chen, Lily's father. We need to talk about your son, and I'd appreciate it if you'd listen to everything I have to say before responding. The sales voice disappeared, replaced with concern. Of course. Is Lily all right? Laid out the whole situation. The affair with my wife. The manipulation of my daughter. The emotional abuse. The way his 21-year-old son had been sleeping with a 42-year-old married woman and helping her torment a 19-year-old girl. The assault. The lockout. All of it. The silence on the other end lasted about 15 seconds. Then, are you absolutely certain about this? I need to know we're dealing with facts here, not assumptions or misunderstandings. My daughter is at my neighbor's house with a handprint bruise on her face from my wife. She's given me a detailed timeline of events spanning 6 months. My lawyer is filing charges in the morning. I'm certain, Mr. Harrison. Another pause. Then his voice went hard in a way that reminded me why he'd been successful in business. I'll handle my son. And Mr. Chen, I'm deeply sorry this happened to your daughter. If there's anything we can do to support her, anything at all, you let me know. My wife and I are absolutely horrified. Keep him away from Lily. That's all I want from your family. He comes near her again, and I'll handle it myself. Understood. He won't be a problem. You have my word. Found out later from mutual acquaintances what that conversation cost Brandon. Mr. Harrison called his son immediately after we hung up, told him to pack his stuff and be out of the family house by morning, took back the Mustang, cut off his credit cards and allowance, froze his trust fund access. The kid went from trust fund baby to essentially homeless in one phone call. By the time I pulled into my driveway at 2 a.m., I had divorce papers ready to be served, a restraining order in process, all finances secured, and my wife's entire support system turned against her. Now came the fun part. The confrontation. Calm, cold, and calculated. I let myself into my own house using my key. Walked through the living room, past the kitchen where Diane and I used to make breakfast together on my days off, straight to the bedroom. Every step felt surreal, like I was walking through a stranger's house instead of the home I'd been paying for since before Lily was born. She was awake, scrolling through her phone in bed, probably texting Brandon about how she'd handled the Lily situation, planning their next hookup session in my bed. The bed I'd bought with my first big paycheck from the Riggs. The bed where we'd conceived our daughter 20 years ago. When she saw me standing in the doorway, her face went through several emotions in rapid succession. Surprise that I was home early. Fear, because she knew something was wrong. Then, settling on defiance, That look she got when she decided to brazen her way through something instead of taking responsibility. You're home early. Yeah, well, I heard my daughter got assaulted and thrown out of her own house. Figured I should check on that. She sat up, wrapping the sheet around herself like that would protect her from what was coming. Like modesty mattered at this point. Lily is being dramatic. We had a disagreement, and she stormed off like teenagers do. You know how emotional she gets. Stop talking. Something in my voice made her actually shut up. Good. I was done listening to lies. Done listening to her manipulate and twist reality. Done with all of it. I know about Brandon. I know about the affair. I know about the threats and the manipulation and the months of psychological torture you put our daughter through. I know about the gifts you bought him with my money. I know about the hotel rooms you booked on my credit card. I know about you telling Lily I wouldn't believe her if she told me. I know all of it, Diane. Watched the color drain from her face in real time. Her hands started shaking, and she gripped the sheet tighter. David, I can explain. I said stop talking. You don't get to explain. You don't get to spin this or make excuses or cry your way out of it. Here's what's going to happen. At 8 a.m., you're being served with divorce papers and a restraining order. You have until noon to pack a bag and get out of this house. Everything in this house was purchased with my money, so you take your clothes and your personal items and nothing else. You can't just kick me out of my own home. I have rights. It's not your home. It's my home. It's my name on the deed, my money that paid for it, my mortgage that keeps it. You're a stay-at-home wife who contributed nothing financially for 21 years and just destroyed everything morally. You have no claim here. She started crying. The fake kind, where she'd squeeze out tears to manipulate me. The same act she'd been using for years anytime she wanted something or got caught doing something wrong. Used to work too, back when I thought she was a decent human being who actually cared about our family. Please, David, just listen to me for 1 minute. I love you. We can work through this. It was a mistake. I was lonely while you were gone so much. He made me feel young again. You abused our daughter. You slept with a kid barely older than her. You threatened her scholarship, her mental health, her relationship with me. You hit her in the face and locked her out of her own house. You made her afraid to tell her own father what was happening. There was no working through that. There's no counseling or second chances or forgiveness. You're done. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos Janet had sent me. Clear pictures of the bruise on Lily's face. Perfectly visible handprint, timestamp and location data embedded in the file. Evidence that would hold up in court. The police will be getting these tomorrow morning along with Lily's full statement about the assault and the emotional abuse. My lawyer says you're looking at assault charges at minimum, possibly coercion, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor, depending on how the DA feels about the situation. Watched her face crumble as reality set in. The tears became real now. Ugly crying as the full weight of her actions hit her. You're going to have me arrested? David, please, I'm your wife. You were my wife, past tense. And yes, I'm going to let the legal system decide what happens to you. But yes, you're going to face consequences for what you did. Real ones. Not just divorce or social embarrassment, actual criminal consequences. David, please, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll apologize to Lily. I'll end things with Brandon. I'll be the wife you deserve. You'll pack your stuff and be gone by noon. That's what you'll do. And if you're not gone, the sheriff will remove you. Your choice. She tried begging for another 10 minutes. Crying, pleading, making promises she had no intention of keeping. Offered to sign a post-nup giving me everything if I'd just give her another chance. Said she'd get a job and contribute financially. Said she'd spend the rest of her life making it up to me and Lily. I just stood there and watched. Felt nothing. The woman I'd loved for 21 years was gone. Replaced by this stranger who tortured our daughter for months while spending my money to support her boy toy. Finally, she tried a different angle. The tears stopping as anger took over. What about money? I need somewhere to live. I need a car. You'll get whatever the divorce settlement says you get. Which won't be much considering adultery and abuse are both factors in Florida divorce law. But that's a problem for your lawyer to figure out. Speaking of which, you should probably get one. And find someone cheap because your credit cards are all frozen as of 2 hours ago. Her eyes went wide. You froze the cards? How am I supposed to pay for anything? Not my problem. You should have thought about that before you destroyed our family. Consequences, Diane. Welcome to them. This is insane. You're being cruel and vindictive and I'm being protective of my daughter and decisive about removing threats from her life. You want to see cruel? Keep talking. Keep trying to make yourself the victim here. See how that works out for you in court when the judge sees the photos of what you did to Lily. That shut her up. She sat there on the bed, our bed, crying, and probably realizing for the first time that her actions had permanent consequences she couldn't charm or lie her way out of. Left her there crying in the bed she'd shared with our daughter's boyfriend and went to check on Lily. The aftermath, rebuilding what she broke, found Lily still awake at Janet's house, curled up on the couch watching some late-night show with the volume off. Soon as she saw me, she started crying again. Not the panicked, terrified crying from earlier. This was different. Relief, guilt, fear, all mixed together. Held my daughter while she sobbed into my shoulder, apologizing over and over for not telling me sooner. Kept telling her she had nothing to apologize for. That she was brave and strong, and I was proud of her for finally speaking up. That none of this was her fault. I thought you'd be mad at me, she whispered between sobs. Mom said you'd think I was lying or trying to break up your marriage. She said you'd choose her over me because you'd been together longer. Baby girl, you could never break up my marriage. Your mother did that all on her own. And I will always, always believe you. Always. There is nothing you could tell me that would make me stop loving you or stop protecting you. Nothing. We talked until the sun came up. She told me everything, every painful detail I needed to hear, to understand the full scope of what Diane had done. How it started with Brandon just being friendly with Diane. How Diane started buying him expensive gifts, taking him to nice dinners on my credit card, treating him like the son she never had instead of her daughter's boyfriend. Then one night, when Lily was at a study group, she came home early and found them together in the living room. Not just talking, but making out like teenagers. Lily tried to break up with Brandon immediately, but he threatened to tell me it was all Lily's idea, that she'd asked him to spend time with her mom so Diane wouldn't be lonely. Diane backed him up without hesitation. The gaslighting started small. Your dad works so hard. We don't want to stress him out with drama. Then it escalated. Your dad would never believe you over me. I've been with him for 20 years, and you're just a kid making accusations. Eventually, it became, your dad would hate you if he knew what you let happen. He'd think you were weak for not stopping it. My daughter spent months thinking she'd somehow caused or allowed this to happen. Thinking it was her fault for introducing Brandon to her mom. Thinking she was the problem for not being able to stop an affair between two adults who were actively manipulating her. I started skipping meals because I felt so sick all the time, she told me. Every time I sat down to eat, I'd think about them together and I'd just lose my appetite. Mom would make these elaborate dinners for Brandon, and I'd have to pretend everything was normal or she'd get angry. The weight loss, the dark circles, the withdrawal. All symptoms of sustained psychological abuse that I'd missed because I was offshore working to support a family that was falling apart without me knowing. I almost told you so many times, she said. I'd start to type out a text and then delete it. I'd call your number and hang up before it rang. Because every time I got close, Mom would say something about how disappointed you'd be, how hard you work, and how this would destroy you. She made it seem like telling you would hurt you more than keeping the secret. Made me physically sick hearing it all. But I listened to every word because she needed to say it, and I needed to understand the full extent of the damage my wife had caused. By 8 a.m., we were back at my house. Diane was still there, red-eyed and frantic, hadn't slept all night from the looks of it. She'd probably been up all night trying to figure out how to talk her way out of this, how to spin the narrative, how to make herself the victim. Started trying to apologize to Lily the second she walked in the door. Baby, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I was confused and made terrible choices. Don't talk to her, I said, stepping between them. The restraining order is being served in about 20 minutes. You're not allowed within 500 feet of Lily or me after that. So say whatever you need to say to the walls because we're done listening. The process server showed up right on schedule. Professional woman in a pantsuit who'd probably seen every kind of domestic drama imaginable. Watched Diane's hands shake as she read through the papers. Divorce petition. Restraining order. Emergency custody order. Giving me sole decision-making for Lily. Despite her being an adult due to the abuse situation. Asset freezing order. The whole 9 yards. This is insane, she kept saying while flipping through pages. You can't do this. This isn't fair. I have rights. What's not fair is what you did to our daughter. What's not fair is that you won't face half the consequences you deserve. Now pack your stuff. Clock's ticking. She tried dragging it out, taking her time, making a scene. Going through closets slowly, sitting on the bed crying, making phone calls to people who wouldn't answer. At 11:45, I called the non-emergency police line and explained the situation. Had 2 deputies show up at 12:01 to escort her off the property when she still hadn't left. Watching her get escorted out with 2 garbage bags of clothes was the most satisfying moment of my life. She kept screaming about how I'd regret this, how I was making a huge mistake, how Lily was manipulating me and lying about everything. The deputies had to physically guide her to her car while she ranted. One of the deputies, this older guy named Patterson, who looked like he'd seen everything twice, looked at me and Lily standing on the porch and just shook his head. 23 years on the job, and I've seen some things. But this is up there. You two take care of each other, all right? She's not going to let this go quietly. He was right about that. Diane tried coming back 3 times that first week, each time getting turned away by the restraining order. 3rd time, the deputies had to warn her she'd be arrested if she came back. That finally got through to her. The legal fallout. Watching it all burn. The divorce moved fast since Diane couldn't afford a decent lawyer. She tried representing herself for about 2 weeks before realizing she was way out of her depth. Eventually got some bottom-tier attorney who took her case pro bono because apparently she spun some sob story about being a victim of financial abuse. That lasted until my lawyer presented the bank statements showing hundreds of dinners charged to my credit card at expensive restaurants. Hotel rooms booked on my dime. A $3,000 charge at some men's clothing store that Diane swore she knew nothing about until we subpoenaed Brandon's Instagram and found him wearing a designer suit in multiple photos, tags still attached, thanking his special someone for the early birthday gift. Her lawyer withdrew from the case. Said she'd lied about material facts and he couldn't ethically represent her. She went back to representing herself and it was a bloodbath. Florida's a no-fault divorce state, but adultery still factors into alimony and asset distribution. My lawyer buried her. She walked away with basically nothing. No alimony because she'd committed adultery. Minimal asset distribution because the marriage was under 25 years and she'd contributed no income. No claim to my retirement because of the abuse allegations. The house, the cars, the savings, the investment accounts, all of it stayed with me. She got her clothes, her jewelry, and about $30,000 from the settlement. That's it. 21 years of marriage and she walked away with less than a year of my salary. But the real justice came from the criminal charges. The DA's office took Lily's statement and the photos of her bruise and filed assault charges. Pretty straightforward domestic violence case. Diane pled guilty to avoid jail time, got 2 years probation and mandatory anger management classes. She's got a criminal record now. Good luck finding a job with that hanging over her head. Brandon didn't face criminal charges because technically he was an adult, and the relationship with Diane was consensual, even if it was gross and morally bankrupt. But the court of public opinion destroyed him anyway. His entire friend group cut him off, got kicked out of his business fraternity for conduct unbecoming. The dean called him in for a disciplinary hearing based on the police reports, and he withdrew from school entirely rather than face expulsion. Last I heard, he was working overnight shifts stocking shelves at a warehouse and living in a studio apartment in the bad part of town. His parents wouldn't even speak to him. Mr. Harrison actually called me a few months after everything went down to apologize again and let me know Brandon was completely cut off from the family trust fund. Said his son made his bed and could sleep in it. The social fallout was even better. Small town, word spreads fast. Diane couldn't go anywhere without people staring, whispering, judging. She tried going to the grocery store, and people literally turned their carts around to avoid her. Tried getting a job, and got rejected from every place in town because somehow every employer knew what she'd done. She ended up moving 2 counties over to live with some cousin. Heard she's working the cash register at a gas station making minimum wage. Karma's a beautiful thing. Diane violated the restraining order twice in the first month. Second violation landed her in county lockup for 3 days. That was enough to get through her head that I wasn't bluffing. She tried reaching out through mutual friends, sent letters to my work address, even showed up at Lily's campus once. Campus security escorted her off and filed a report. Her probation officer was not impressed. Last I heard, she's working at a gas station 90 miles away, living in a 1-bedroom apartment over a pizza shop. Her cousin kicked her out after 2 months because Diane wouldn't stop trying to borrow money. She tried posting on social media about being a victim of financial abuse. Her brother Michael shut that down by commenting, "You slept with your daughter's boyfriend and assaulted her. Stop lying." Post got deleted within an hour, but everyone saw it. Brandon's doing worse. Working overnight warehouse shifts, living in a studio with 2 roommates. Had to sell his designer stuff to make rent. Tried apologizing to Lily through a mutual friend. She told the friend if he contacts her again, she's filing for a restraining order. His family won't speak to him. Mr. Harrison told me at the grocery store that Brandon's out of the will completely. Actions have consequences. I'm sorry my son had to learn that by hurting your family. The university gave Lily a private counseling scholarship. She's been meeting with someone twice a week. The weight's coming back. She's sleeping better. Actually smiling again. Made Dean's List last semester. Got invited to join an honors program for engineering students. Started hanging out with a new friend group that actually treats her right. I took 2 months off work to be there for her. We went fishing in Georgia, drove to the Keys for a weekend, spent time being a family of 2. She told me more about the abuse during those trips. Hard conversations, but necessary. Put an extra 50 grand into an account for Lily. Grad school fund, car fund, whatever she needs. She's never going to depend on anyone like she thought she had to stay quiet for Diane. Janet still checks on Lily weekly. Sends care packages during finals, texts encouragement before exams. Lily calls her Aunt Janet now. 6 months out, the final pieces. The divorce finalized last month. Diane tried fighting it, claimed she deserved more money for emotional distress. Judge looked at the assault conviction and affair evidence and basically laughed her out of court. Final settlement. She got 30 grand and her personal belongings. I kept the house, both cars, all retirement accounts, all savings. She tried claiming alimony. Judge denied it based on adultery and abuse. Her lawyer bills are crushing her. She tried representing herself halfway through and that went poorly. Now she owes her attorney about 15 grand she doesn't have. Brandon's parents sent Lily a formal apology letter and a $10,000 check. Told her they were horrified and wanted to contribute to her education. Lily deposited it and sent them a thank you note. The criminal case wrapped up with Diane taking a plea deal. 2 years probation, anger management classes, community service, permanent record now. I ran into her once at a shopping center. She saw me, started walking over. I turned around and left. Haven't seen her since. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.